I have been on this campaign trail now since May of 2019, and I have spoken to a multitude of people that live in our county from all different aspects of our county. I've been with Muslims, I've been with Christians, I've been with whites, blacks, Koreans, everybody. And I think it's time for our county now to have a change. And I submit to you, I want to be that change. As indicated in the introduction, I have been living in Gwinnett County for 22 years. I met my husband, Travis. The very first time I came to Gwinnett County, I said, I'll never live in this county, it's too far. So I was living in Fulton County at the time when I was working for the Attorney General's office, and I had to come out to Gwinnett County one time to handle a matter for the AG's office, and I drove and drove and drove and drove. And when I left, I said, boy, I'm never coming back here. But God has a sense of humor, okay? I ended up meeting my husband. When I met him, he was working for Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department. And we got engaged, and I ended up moving here. And it's just one of those things. And all the rest is history at this point. And I've enjoyed our county. I love Gwinnett County. I think that we're in a posture now that we can just involve everyone and embrace everybody in our county so that we can work hard, keep our county where it needs to be, keep our county safe, and do a lot of the things that need to be done. Not just at the last moment, but this has been my life. I've been about the children. I've been about rescuing children even. Basically, what I want to look at is a holistic approach to the district attorney's office. And when I found out at the State of the Children Summit that was held right here in Gwinnett County that almost 52% of our children are not prepared for kindergarten. And is that something as a community that we can accept, or is that something that we need to address? And I don't know if you all have heard of what's called the school to prison pipeline. And what we look at that point is which children are on their reading grade level in the 4th grade. And that's how our community looks at how we decide how many prisons to build. Is that acceptable? I submit to you that's not acceptable. And we have to work harder as a community to make sure that families in this community have what they need and that children are prepared for school, that they are reading at their school level. And I submit to you that all of us, every person has to get involved. We don't have the luxury of anybody sitting back and not doing anything. Because, we all know it's easy to criticize, but we all have to get to work. And that means everybody, for every child. And that's going to make us all safer. If you have children that are educated, that are reading at their level, if they have their basic needs met and families have their basic needs met, that makes our society safer. And I've heard quite a few things that are disturbing to me. For example, I have found out since I've been on the campaign trail that if there are any disciplinary issues in a school setting, that the school resource officers send a form. It's called the DA form. They send it up to the district attorney's office. And my question is this: what are we doing with that form? Are we reaching back out to children that are on the wrong path and bringing them in so that they can now see that they have a hope in the future? Are we doing that? I haven't seen any indication of it. But that's one of my platforms, is that we don't want to bring our children into the criminal justice system. So how do we not do that? We have to get to them early. I remember as a elementary school student, and this is kind of funny, my school had firemen come into our school and talk to us. And they said to us, if you don't smoke, don't start. And of course none of us were smoking. But for some reason that stuck in my psyche. I never started smoking. My mother was a heavy smoker. And she would always smoke around me, and I would cough and say, oh no. She's like, don't you ever smoke, because if you do, I will smack it out of your mouth. I'm like, okay, got a deal. So basically, I think if you get to children early and you make an impression upon them, that you're gonna have a changed person. And as was indicated in my introduction, I'm the first college graduate in my family. And I don't carry that lightly. I think I have a responsibility to make a difference. My husband and I reached out when we wanted more children, and we adopted 2 more. And my other family members are saying, no, don't do that. You don't know what you're gonna get. But do any of us know what we're gonna get when we have our own children, you know? But so I just feel like we have to give them a hope in the future. That's one of my platforms. And then let's look at recidivism. When people come out of prison and they're coming back to this community. If they were in prison for a crime and they live here, their family's here, they're coming back. So let's do things, let's be creative, let's be proactive, and do things that will keep them from going back into the system, okay? Let's reduce recidivism. And Gwinnett County is a wonderful county. There's so many different things that I've learned by being on the trail, is that we graduated our 2nd class of welders from the Department of Corrections. And these are the things that we have to look at. Let's look at it holistically. Let's bring people back into the fold. Let's give them whatever services are needed so that they're not resorting back to crime. That's, I feel, is one of the responsibilities of the District Attorney's Office, to keep our community safe. And how do we do that? You know, we make sure we know what's going on in the community. During one of the last forums that I was in with our present district attorney, he made a statement that there are 2,500 gang members in Gwinnett County. So my question is, let's identify who the people are and let's go at them, talk with them, bring them in, find out what is the problem. We don't want gangs in Gwinnett County. We want people to understand that they have a hope in the future here in our county without resorting to crime. So let's be proactive and let's cure the problems. Let's not say, well, we got a problem and just sit back and wait for somebody to break a law to come into the criminal justice system. Let's be proactive, go out there, meet these people, get someone that can talk to them. I was talking the other night to a group of mothers who their children at age 15 have gone into the criminal justice system. And they're getting ready to come out. One woman told me that her son wants to come out and speak to young people, talk to them about the things that you don't do to come into the system. So these are the kind of things that I want to implement into the district attorney's office, things that we can do to keep our community safe, to get children on the right track, and let's deal with that, and I need your help in that, okay? So I'm asking for everyone that's listening, everyone that's present, please support me. Go to my website, Patsy, Patsy, the number 4da.com, and reach out to me if you want me to come and speak with any other groups that you have on Zoom or in person, or if you want to contact me, I am available. So I'm asking for your support at this time. Now, of course, I've been on this trail since I indicated, since May of 2019. I won the Democratic primary. I won all 156 precincts in Gwinnett County. And every county, every precinct, I got it. So I want to do this again, and I want to do it in a big way so that I have the mandate from the community. Thank you.
I usually kind of dominate this, so I'm going to try not to. And I don't know if they can hear me on Zoom, but
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
okay. So here's my question. So we're so divided, Republican and Democrat, across the country. It seems to be.
Yes.
Why is the district attorney? Why do you have to pick a side?
I think you should look at the character of the person. And there are different approaches. I think that right now, if you want to say it's a Republican stance, I don't know. But right now, the district attorney's office has been focused on convictions. That's what they focus on, 96% conviction rate. And my approach will be a lot different than that. As I indicated in my talk, I'm going to be proactive and in touch with the community, so that we can keep our community safe before You know, I think it's gotta be some preventive things done.
And just in line with the judges, like
Yes.
they aren't picking a side. And of course, you know, my favorite didn't get elected, and
Yeah.
she was all about reform.
Mhm,
And, so, you know, that's how we connected, was through her, but,
mhm.
so.
Well, I don't know if it's a matter of picking a side. Once we go into that voting booth on November 3rd, you don't have to pick a side, you just have to check my name.
That's right.
But just check the name. You don't have to pull a Democratic ballot. Everybody's going to be on the same ballot.
Yeah, that's good. Hey,
Josh?
question.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. First of all, Bill Orangeman.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sorry, from New York, so I apologize, but, deep south. I spent my life investing in people and from all ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
And the challenge of renovating what gets people, into, oh, that's reverb right there. Hearing me twice is worse than once. But the challenge of getting to people before they go in
Yes.
and making a difference is huge. You mentioned several things. Number one, you said about well, that's after they're already in, getting them an ability like welding and things like that. But beforehand, what do you see, having gone around, as maybe the mix of the most helpful but the most doable? You know, some things like if we could reinstate all families and get their families, that'd be great. But that's a huge challenge. Thank God for churches.
Yes.
They're working behind the scenes to make that happen. But what do you see is doable and effective by the DA that can help keep kids, adults even, from entering the system or being a statistic?
Mhm. Well, I think it's important to be part of the community. I don't plan on just sitting behind a desk. We have the high schools. Just recently, I was a coach for Berkmar High School, the litigation, I think they call them young litigators. I was a coach for them, and I think that is the key, is getting out there, speaking with children, and the churches, as I indicated, all of us have a role in it. None of us have the luxury of just sitting back. We all have something that we can offer. We all have a gift from God that He's allowed us to prevail in, and those are the gifts that we have to share with the community. And that would be my goal, is to get out in the community with the different high schools, boys and girls clubs. All types of programs exist right here in Gwinnett County, where there's been a push for volunteers for Gwinnett. You can go on the Gwinnett County website and find a whole listing of volunteer activities that you can do as a citizen. And none of us can afford, unless you're ill and you just can't do anything. Even then, you have people sitting back, making masks, just doing all kinds of things. We have to pull together as a community, especially now. In the environment that's in our country, we have to pull together as a community.
And forgive me, the follow-up with that, with the DA, specifically, show my ignorance, what does the DA have as far as ability to affect people getting into the community? Does the DA have, I know personally you can choose to do that. Does the DA have any ability to open up opportunities for other people to go in, or what's the?
Well, I think each agency in the county is almost like each division is getting a community outreach person. I did that with the Gwinnett County Solicitor's Office, just outreach, going to job fairs, speaking at on different occasions to the students, and just pulling people together. The district attorney's office would have a great deal of ability to do that, because immediately you have that label. You are the district attorney, and you can go out to high schools, to students, exactly, and just be there for people. As I indicated to you earlier, I'm the first college graduate in my family. And growing up in New York, my mother sent me to something that was called the Fresh Air Program, where 2 weeks out of the summer, we leave the city and we go somewhere else. We're learning, what different horizons are out there. I've heard of so many great programs since I've been running. There was even a school in Chicago that started a rowing team and got these kids out of the center of the city to be on a rowing team, and these were rival gang members.
Yeah.
And it's things that we can do as a society. We can't sit back and just wait for people to go down the tubes. We got to try to rescue them. Because I could have easily been someone that went down the tubes.
Yeah.
So God is good. You know, and that's why I'm here today. It's because of what he's done in my life and allowed to have happen. Coming down here, Emory was a good experience also. When I went into Emory Law School, I was one of 8 African-American students admitted in that class. And it was about a class of 250 people. So that was not enlightening for me. That was really strange. I'm like, I'm in Atlanta? Where are the black people? But it was just strange in that regard, but I'm glad I had that experience because it just leads me to understand just because you're in a certain circumstance doesn't mean it's all going to be good all the time. And I know that they've corrected that as time has gone on from what I'm hearing. But there are a lot of things that we can do just as a community. I've had some things that I had to overcome, and I think that will only aid me to be the best DA that this county has ever had.
How many women were there?
Excuse me?
How many women?
We were about half and half with women.
Really?
We were about half with women. It's a great deal of women was in that class.
All right. First of all, I went to Auburn and I was at the Sugar Bowl. And y'all beat us 10-10. I thought.
Yeah, you sent a tie to us, if I remember. Yeah.
So my apologies for us kicking that field goal tie.
Yeah.
But my question is, obviously, we're in an election year.
Yes.
And we are very politicized in so many
Yes.
ways. And a lot of counties, or a lot of areas, both here in Georgia and across the country, there seems to be a very adversarial relationship going on between the office that you're seeking in law enforcement. What is your perception, and what would you ideally see the relationship between law enforcement and your office?
Thank you for that question, because that is very much on the top of the news trends, what's going on in our country right now with policing and district attorneys. I just feel like at present we have to be careful with how we deal with that. Gwinnett County right now has been somewhat blessed when it comes to it. I know that you all are aware of the Bon Giovanni case where the officers were caught on tape like sucker punching a kid that they pulled out of a car, and how that happened. They were immediately terminated. I think when an officer, my husband has been in policing forever, and we have our own arguments about different things, but
There you go.
but it's a
I don't
good,
ever win, by the way.
Yeah,
It's a-
behind you, man.
it's a good balance, because I can see it from his, thought pattern. What are the SOPs? What are the standard operating procedures for different things that happen? Was the officer within those procedures? Did he do it correctly? And the problem with something that happens with policing is that they have a quick second to make a decision. And if they make the wrong decision, it could impact the rest of their lives. And also, someone could be extremely hurt. I just look at what happened with George Floyd, 8 minutes, 46 seconds with a knee on your neck. I think that brought everybody to understand we do have a problem that has to be dealt with. And to me, that was not even as much as a black and white issue as it was a humanity issue. Is it human? Is it affording someone human dignity when you do that?
Right.
And I would submit to you all that that's not showing someone else human dignity. And I think it has to be respect given 2 ways, from the citizens respecting the police and the police respecting the citizens. And that would have solved a lot of problems right there. I am in touch. I've talked with Gwinnett County PD and different other policing agencies. I've been involved with speaking with them. And I think that we have to look at where our officers are at. I don't think there's enough training. I know people talk about that all the time, but there's a new listing that came out about how a hairdresser, to be licensed, has to have more training and more time than a police officer. You remember that study when you went to the chiefs meeting, that they talked about that? And I think that's coming down the pike, where there's a realization that there isn't enough. I personally feel that in a position for the state where you have the ability to take a life, that there needs to be more psychological testing. I just really believe that, because what I'm seeing happening out here is not humane. And we want to make sure we have the best officers policing our communities. And the black community has always looked at over-policing in the communities, and whether police discretion on bringing people in on criminal charges is being used in a disparate way toward that community. And those are the things that we have to think about. As I don't know who y'all's neighbors are, but we have to talk to our neighbors, and we have to talk to people from different areas and where we are accustomed to. You know, I think that if we do that as a community, Gwinnett County can be how we demonstrate to the rest of this country how a diverse community gets it right. Okay? Yes.
Don't you think that the salary of police officers is so low that we also are not getting the quality caliber person we should get?
Mm-hmm.
Like you talked about a college education.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to try to strive for that, and then we've kind of dropped below that you don't have to have a college degree to be a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that some of the issue is that we need to be on up there in that $50,000–$60,000 range for a
Yeah.
police officer,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being at $40,000, and they're
Yeah.
struggling just to make it.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I really think that they should be paid more. I think that all members of our community should be paid more, because really, was it $7.25? Is that really a livable wage? I don't think any of us
Well,
feel
but
that
I
way.
would say that, you know, that's a little bit different issue for sometimes part-time people,
Mhm.
whatever, but
Yeah.
a police officer, shouldn't be struggling to pay their bills,
Mhm.
so we're scraping the bottom of the barrel. These people that have a gun that can kill somebody,
Yeah.
they should be our high quality caliber
Mhm.
person.
I agree with that. The same thing with even teachers, you know, have that same
Agreed.
issue on not being paid enough. And I think that we do have to look at that. We have to look at how we accord those positions where they are placed. I 100% agree with that. I believe they should be paid more. Because we don't want them, you know, we train them and then people go elsewhere. They go to even other parts of the country and get paid more money.
Mhm.
One of the challenges, obviously, if a police officer faces a person that is resistant to authority, it triples the challenge that he or she faces.
Mhm.
And so if we can reduce, or should it increase the respect for authority in kids, that will just drastically change, you know, the intensity of the situations, even some of the foolish stuff that happens. If the person on the other end, even if an officer made a foolish decision, if that person hadn't been resistant, it may have never happened. It didn't make it okay for the officer to be foolish. But how, and again, that's what we're trying to do, is connect. We do have our heroes and certain people here and other things. Is there anything on your end as you work that you think, as a community, we can do better in helping our students and our children respect, honor, develop appreciation for authority, whatever, however you would put it? Anything
Well,
we can do that you see?
Some of it starts at home.
It
all starts at
Yeah, but part of what you put forth, I'm kind of not 100% on, because what has happened in the black community, we've had to have talks with our children. You all heard about the talk that black families have to have with their children before they are go out and interact with police. And a lot of times, you know, what I've seen is that you have some people that do exactly what they're supposed to do
Right.
with the police, and
Right.
they get killed.
Right.
So we can't just say it's because of how they're reacting. Yeah, and you see some folks acting like whatever, and bad things happen. So it
Right.
goes, you know, all across that spectrum. I just feel that we have to get back, like I said earlier, the humanity of how we interact with one another.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, the bottom line.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Very, very controversial subject.
Mhm.
We can all agree with that. My father was a 25-year law enforcement Georgia State Patrol,
Yes.
and he retired many, many years ago.
Mhm.
And it really makes him upset knowing what's happening today with police officers and having what's happening to their image and everything. Are there bad police officers? Absolutely there are. But is it magnitude? No, it's not. With Rashard Brooks,
Mhm.
so we all know what happened before all that happened.
Right.
So we know what happened also with Fulton County DA. What would you done different or the same with those two police officers and how they reacted and how they were treated?
I think that, I would have waited for the GBI investigation.
Thank you.
That's the bottom line. That's what I think I would have
There
done.
you go.
Yeah.
Thank
no,
you.
And that's hard to do though, when the community's screaming for your
Yeah.
response,
Yeah.
and you know, no one has all the facts yet,
Mhm.
and they're screaming for you to give a response, that's tough.
Well,
Okay,
I know when they got involved with the Ahmaud Arbery case,
Yeah.
that was like instantaneous, because there had been 74 days, I believe it was, before, they weren't officers, but a previous investigator with the DA's office. And when the GBI got involved, investigated, it was almost instantaneous. So I think when there's a situation of stuff like that happening, we do have to be, quick as we possibly can, because the community is waiting,
Yeah.
to see what's gonna happen, because there's been so many instances where officers were not charged, and the community felt like that was a miscarriage of justice. And those are the things that we are dealing with.
Kind of tagging along that, do you
Mhm.
feel like that the district attorney overcharged? Now, knowing what we
I
know?
don't know everything that he knows, because there's a lot of information and things that come in that you just don't, the public doesn't have full access to. So I can't say that he did or didn't, because I don't know everything that he's looking at.
He didn't know everything that he knew either, but the GBI let him out.
Yeah. All right. So I do
Thank you
have some of
very
these,
much.
these cards I've been holding. If y'all would, take a card, and it will give you my information easily.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.